I said, we got to take action in this whole society. Action point number one. We need to embrace a reverence and respect for all human life. That goes not only for this officer who murdered Oscar Grant, but this goes for young people in the hood, in Oakland, San Francisco, and in Richmond, who also have been trigger happy and destroying life without negotiating one's difference. So overall, I repeat, we need to establish a policy and a practice of reverence for all life, and all meaning all.
Community that is outraged. There is a community that is angry as a result of what we all saw in those videos. The expression of anger, though, and outrage is not the same as the violence that was demonstrated last night. And I want to be clear that the people who organized yesterday, in terms of the event that started in the morning at the DA's office and went on into the afternoon at the Fruitvale BART station, was an expression of outrage and anger, but in those expressions, they were peaceful, and that they were not a part of that renegade group who wants to pretend like they were concerned about Oscar Grant's family, but were really interested in wreaking havoc in a community. We do not condone that or support it in any way, and distinguish ourselves from that.
The NAACP state conference had a leadership conference in Los Angeles. And the question that was posed was whether or not there's still a civil rights struggle since we now have a new president-elect. Have things changed? Well, you know, my first conversation on Friday morning was with the district attorney regarding what occurred at the BART station. I went to the airport for an early flight going to Long Beach where the state conference was going to be held. And at the airport, all these folks started telling me, you know, about what happened, because I really had not heard. And we do have a telephone answering service for the NAACP, and all these calls were piling up, and someone who was charged with the responsibility of taking the calls didn't take them that day. So as I prepared to travel to Los Angeles, folks started telling me what had happened. I said, no, you got to be kidding. And the district attorney just told me briefly what had occurred, but I couldn't believe the extent of what happened until I saw the videotapes.
With you in your elected capacities, is it your duty to protect and serve BART, or is it your duty to protect and serve the people? It is the people that elected you, not BART. So we should be very clear that when we begin to make our statement, it angered me to hear representatives look at the same video footage that we looked at and be told it's grainy.
That was me.
It doesn't matter how focused it was, for we all know what we saw. And so when spokesmen from your institution addressed the public, it took a week to hear condolences from BART. It took a week for BART to force its employee to the table. And in truth, if an employee of mine shot somebody and said that I'm not going to talk to you, then you're no longer my employee. And while we're on that, since he's no longer your employee, then BART should turn it over to the district attorney and other investigative agencies and say he's yours. Take it and prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. I don't want to hear anything about a union right. There are no employee rights that protect the employee from the charge of murder. So if the union says we're protecting him, then the union should be charged with him for the murder of Oscar Grant.
Time. The Oakland Police Department is notorious for murdering its citizens, not to let off the San Francisco Police Department because they're just as bad. I mean, did we just not say that we were Sean Bell in New York? Did we not just say we was Rodney King? Did we not just say we was Cameron Boyd in San Francisco? Did we just not say we were Jody in Oakland? Did we just not say? We've been saying this. Conditions in our communities have not changed since little Bobby Hutton came out 40 years ago and 9 months with his hands in the air and was shot 12 times. And we can have all the controversy we want, but there are those of us who know he had his hands in the air, just like we saw Oscar Grant with his hands in the air, begging and pleading for his humanity, for the right to be treated as a human being. So we want this moment to be the beginning of the end of police brutality, not just in Oakland, but around this country. I've received calls from all, the world is watching. The world is watching Oakland.
This to happen. You think you allowed this to happen? My question is real simple. Where is the cop who did it? Where is the cop who did it? Is he arrested right now? Is he in custody right now? If I drive down, if I kill someone accidentally, I get arrested. You guys treat us like we are ignorant ass fools. How does a man get shot and he doesn't even get interrogated? Y'all talking about interview? How you interview a murderer, a murder suspect? You interrogate his ass. That's the reality. Where is he? I know where he is. He's probably on a plane to Paris somewhere. Because if the policemen's union, which is a white union, if they call any of y'all and say, look, get up and use the bathroom right now, you guys will be getting up, running to the bathroom because the union pulls your strings and calls the shots. They do. The policemen's union in the city of Oakland, the elected officials in the city of Oakland have no power over the union. If the union say, look, the union will call Della Fuentes, James Boone, anybody, and say, hey, look, get up and take a piss. He'll get up and use the bathroom. That's the power of the union. You think I'm lying? That's why he's not arrested. Tom Orloff needs to be recalled. He needs to be arrested. And I understand that all y'all in the same group. You all in the same gang. I don't care if you're Chinese. I don't care if you're black. You all in the same gang. And that's a corrupt corporate America gang. The bottom line is, when I look at this man, I'm gonna say, I cried because I have 4 sons. And I said, what did I tell my son? It's 2009 and you can't ride the BART because a white boy may shoot you. You may get tased for nothing. And so, let me tell you this here, and I'll stop. Question is, why don't you have him arrested right now? Why don't you have him arrested right now? He killed somebody. He's a suspect. Why don't you have him arrested? Answer that.
Happened to African people for 400 years, if the truth be told. Oscar Grant happened recently. This is recent history of African people. But if the truth be told, let's go back to a place in time when African people were free and self-determined, built pyramids, had the world at our feet, until it was invaded by folks who crossed an ocean on boats, came to Africa and kidnapped us and brought us to America. And we've been catching hell for 400 years. So what happened to Oscar Grant ain't nothing new. I heard somebody talking about 1955 Emmett Till. Let's go back to 1619, Georgetown, Virginia. The reality is, until African people organize ourselves for freedom, something that we heard talked about for so long, until we organize ourselves for freedom, we're not going to have it. And it's not for BART or any other entity to give us freedom. It's going to be demanded and it's going to be taken. Just like these young people in the street. The problem with our young people out in the streets last night, they didn't have revolutionary philosophy. They didn't have what Bobby Hutton had. That's the problem with last night. But that is coming. I'm not here to ask anything of this board, because you ain't going to give it. It's impossible for you to give it. That's why you're sitting up here listening. The reality is, when you talk about going to the United States government to investigate the BART, that's like going to Al Capone asking him to investigate